I'm in my room working. He came in and he's just looking really shocked. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's on the phone and he's just like, he's like, Garrison, Garrison has passed. And I'm like, and he says it to me and I'm like, what? What? And he just started crying and I was just like, oh my gosh, what? And I'm just trying to gather the details, trying to figure out what's.
Well, hi everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're discussing one of the most rambunctious and incendiary trends in the Sister Wives saga, Kody Brown's intense fixation on controlling others and how this ultimately led to the total collapse of the family he took decades building. If you're a faithful viewer of the show who's been watching for several years, you've seen Kody change radically over the span of many seasons. Right from the beginning, Kody projected a certain image of himself as this zany, energetic, fun-loving father of this enormous plural family. He spoke a lot about harmony, fairness, and how he was committed to all his wives and children feeling equal and respected. But as time went on, especially after Robyn was included in the family, those ideals started to slip. The discourse of partnership became the discourse of hierarchy. Kody's behavior grew increasingly defensive, rigid, and frankly more autocratic. He began to throw around terms like loyalty, respect, and obedience more frequently, no longer as a two-way supportive thing, but as an enforceable thing that demanded submission. He wanted his wives and children to simply go along with him without questioning, even if that meant disregarding their own feelings, intuition, and sovereignty. The biggest red flag was during the COVID-19 crisis. Kody took very autocratic steps and insisted on people in the family following without query. He positioned himself as the authority, not as a concerned father, but as the only individual whose judgment has to be trusted. Whenever Janelle and Christine's kids requested explanations behind the rationale or fairness of his edicts, instead of attempting to comprehend their problems, Kody retaliated with anger and indifference. He perceived any opposition as betrayal, not what it was in reality, independent thought. His friendship with his older sons like Garrison and Gabriel disintegrated rapidly. These were close father-son bonds at one time, but Kody could not stand to be questioned. Instead of trying to understand where they were coming from, he accused them of disrespect, of taking sides, of being unfaithful. The result? Emotional distance, silence, a growing wall Kody built brick by brick with every condescending word and threat. And not just the children alone. Kody's relationship with his wives also shifted dramatically. Christine, who had spent years trying to placate him, finally reached her breaking point. She knew no amount of effort at loyalty could ever be enough. Not until she gave up her voice entirely. Kody requested that she accept his favoritism of Robyn, that she suffer from being emotionally starved, and that she remain obedient. Christine answered no, and when she said so, Kody did not fight for her. He did not think. He blamed her for destroying the family. It was an epiphany that told a lot about his priorities. Janelle's tale unfolded in tandem. Independent by nature, Janelle has always valued her autonomy, especially when it came to child rearing and finances. But the desire for control in Kody, as he grew more so, forced her to see how much she had relinquished. When she stood firm, especially with her boys, Kody treated her as an act of defiance, not a co-equal partner. Their breakup was not avoidable, not because Janelle is not like everyone else, but because Kody refuses to yield. Even Meri, who had waited years for the fixing of their relationship, was pushed further and further away. Kody showed that there was no place for her in his life unless she conformed entirely to his new demands. His obsessions with control did not just ruin their marriage, it completely destroyed any emotional intimacy that was left. And at the middle of it was Robyn, who most believed became the benchmark against which all the other wives were judged. Kody had a tendency to praise her as being obedient, respectful, and loyal. But that praise came at the cost of everybody else. He used Robyn's behavior as a tool, presenting her as the perfect wife and insisting that the others conform. It fostered resentment, fragmentation, and deep emotional injuries that still bleed today. So how did this occur? How did the man who once taught about the beauty of plural marriage become completely isolated with only one wife left? The reason is control. Kody did not just want to be the spiritual head of the family, he wanted to be the unyielding authority. And when people stopped obeying blindly, he did not adapt. He doubled his efforts. Most ironic of all is that in attempting to maintain control, he lost it all. The more he insisted on allegiance, the more his wives and children moved away. The more he insisted on obedience, the more they chose freedom. It wasn't a spontaneous meltdown. It was a slow, painful unraveling that happened one command, one rejection, one explosion of emotion at a time. And now, as we push deeper into season 19 and into the future of Sister Wives, Kody's need to be in control is more evident and more heartbreaking than ever. He is clinging to what is left of his authority, but his family is ruined, not because of fate, not because of the test of plural marriage, but because domination had no room for love, flexibility, or deference. As we continue to examine this combustible subject matter, let's talk about what all this means for Robyn and the future of the Brown family now that Kody's dictatorial style has come back to haunt him. Because the thing is, while Robyn has so often been defined as the submissive wife, the one who ever finds herself in agreement with Kody, ever supports him, ever follows the rules, this problem with control is already starting to get to her. On the surface, Robyn received what she desired. She's the only legal wife left. She gets to have Kody to herself. The other wives, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, are eliminated from the romantic landscape. But beneath that win lies a deeper, more painful reality. Robyn is now stuck in the very control matrix that drove everyone else away, and it's beginning to manifest. Season 19 has introduced us to a Robyn who appears exhausted, emotional, and riddled with regret. She's no longer radiating the same self-assured swagger that once made her appear untouchable to Kody, and now she looks like she is carrying the entire load of a dysfunctional family. And some fans already see that Kody's control is even stifling her. He is not that same man she married. He's more aggressive, more belligerent, and completely fixated on the idea that he was betrayed by everyone else. And rather than heal or reconcile with the wives who left, Kody has done everything in his power to maintain a twisted idea of loyalty with Robyn as the ideal. And the punch when loyalty is forced, it is no longer love. It is fear. And Robyn might be feeling that fear more than she ever could have imagined. We've all caught a glimpse of her speaking for Robyn, interrupting her, or claiming very loudly what she feels but not giving Robyn the same opportunity to do so. In other scenes, she just doesn't say anything, blotting at tears or buying an agreement, seemingly struggling to keep up the emotional labor of being the last wife left. And fans are now questioning, is Robyn all right with this? Or is she only now realizing that Kody's obsession with obedience is not just a family issue? It's also a marriage issue now. And it's impossible to ignore the long-term damage that this story of control has done to Kody's reputation as a father and patriarch. He was once the poster child of plural family success, keeping multiple wives and children all under one spiritual banner. But today he is viewed by the majority of his fans as the architect of his own destruction. None of his adult children are emotionally dependent on him. He is effectively cut off from most of them. The closeness and tenderness he once experienced with Hunter, Logan, and even Isabel have been replaced by cold silences, blow-ups, and months or sometimes years of silence. Why? Because the minute they dissented, they were labeled as being disloyal. Kody did not just differ with them. He stepped away completely, and that behavior continued, getting worse with every following season. And the other wives, the women, are thriving without him. Christine is engaged, living her best life, and filled with love and liberty that she never experienced under the reign of Kody. Janelle is building a life for her children, her business, and herself. Even Meri, who held on to a dysfunctional marriage for years, stood up at last and said enough. These women are no longer in Kody's orbit, but they're shining with peace and empowerment that has been seen by viewers in each episode. That dichotomy is what makes this whole story so heart-wrenching. The more Kody tries to keep the narrative in check, to establish that obedience and loyalty are the cornerstones of family, the more those around him resist. And the result, frustration, loneliness, and a reputation starting to fray.